Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Roll Up Varsity. This is Connor.
And this your boy Sticks.
Sticks, back again another week. Staying consistent, man. We haven't missed a week yet.
Never that.
Before we get into everything, obviously, as we like to start out every show, what'd you
Yes,
get
sir.
into this week? You better have it ready to go because you should be prepared by now.
And I'm not reading this one off of a list. So this is actually off the top what I did this weekend. I ended up going over to my dad's house. Most of y'all know him as TK. I went to his house and we watched some of the UFC fights in MMA myself. So I love to watch the sport. I'm pretty he calls me, so you know how Tony Romo calls football games, it kind of ruins it for us because he's like, yeah, he's running left here. So he tells me because I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen here? And he's like, you're just the Tony Romo of this stuff. Like, let me watch the fight. You're telling me it's gonna happen, and then it happens, so it kind of ruins it.
Hey, that's a compliment, though, man. That you
Oh
that
yeah.
you know stuff's coming through like that. So I take that as a compliment. He might not be happy about it, but
Oh yeah, he's not happy about it. I personally I take it as a compliment because it's just an attest to my knowledge. But yeah, so for him, he just hates hearing it first. I'm like, look, she's gonna grapple her against the cage. She's gonna turn position, take her down, and it ends up happening. And one of the craziest finishes that happened, Kamara Usman versus Leon Edwards. Kamara Usman's winning most of the fight. I had him out most of the fifth round too, and it looks like he was 50 seconds away from winning the fight. And Leon Edwards ends up knocking him out with a head kick with like 58 seconds left when he was down in the fight. So that was something crazy. It was like a oh shoot moment where everybody just goes crazy. And he's the pound for pound number one guy in the world, never been knocked out and gets knocked out. So that's what I did. What'd you get into though?
man, I was busy Saturday out at one of the local high school games that we'll get into a little bit later. Varsity had a strong presence there, man.
Huge game. Huge game.
Yeah, big game. But before that, I ran into a little bit of trouble, man. My car died. I had to leave it in a parking lot, catch a ride over to the stadium, get that thing towed over to the shop, get it fixed up. So there's serious dedication on the varsity end to
The
make sure we
same
get
car
this
that
stuff.
you always had, the one that we've
Oh
ridden
yeah,
before.
yeah,
Oh
man, the
man.
same one. It's good to go now, though.
Okay,
It's
we
good to
back
go
up
now.
and
Hey,
running.
it's not dead on me. I just had to get something swapped out in it, but yeah, man, about 30, 45 minutes before the game wouldn't start up for me, so I had to get a ride over there, get everything taken care of. But other than that, Sunday, another chill day. You
I
know,
know how those go with the
yeah,
wife. I know.
Sunday's the wife's day, so
Yes,
we
sir.
did some stuff there. But other than that, man, really good weekend. Got to hang out with family. Obviously, football season is back,
Yes,
so we're
sir.
gonna have a lot more of that to talk about. Those top schools, those commitments are gonna start dwindling down a little bit, so we'll have a lot more football gameplay content for you guys.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we're gonna be out at a bunch of games over the course of the season, so we'll have plenty of content on that. But yeah, man, just a good weekend. Glad to be back on the pod. Like we've said before, man, this is kind of therapy. So
Oh
I
yeah.
enjoy coming in here and talking football with you and
Oh
just
yeah.
being able to chop it up.
Yeah, and that really shows the dedication. A lot of people go through that and end up saying, "Hey, this is the priority. Let me just forget about making it to that game." So that's your dedication. There's the one time I was on a road trip in the car getting active. We really just try our best here at Varsity to be consistent and bring you guys the best content that we can. Me and Connor consistently talk about how much we love doing this, and we love doing it because of you guys' interaction too. It's not just us. This is therapeutic to us, but the interaction from you guys, the love that we get from you guys, the feedback. I mean, I never really felt nothing like that coming up. So appreciate you guys too for showing that love and support.
Most definitely, man. We can't stress how appreciative we are of the love and support that we've seen over the last, what have we been doing this for now? Almost 3 months, I think. And it's been awesome, man. Never could have imagined the kind of reception we would get, and really appreciate it. With that being said, excited to announce we have a new title sponsor for Varsity, Intense Fitness. Intense Fitness is an elite one-on-one personal training facility located at 1536 East Commercial Boulevard in Oakland Park, Florida. Intense Fitness was established in 2012 and has developed a reputation for training all walks of life from high-level athletes to the senior communities. Mention you heard about Intense Fitness from the Varsity crew and receive a complimentary workout and evaluation from the group over there at Intense Fitness. Once again, guys, go see our friends at Intense Fitness. Let them know that you heard about them from the Varsity podcast, and you'll get a free complimentary workout and evaluation from the crew over there. So thank you to Intense Fitness for joining us as our new title sponsor. Really excited to have you guys on board.
Oh man. Hey, this one's close. So this is funny though, because Connor
I know
comes
you're happy about that sponsor there, Curtis.
That is hilarious because Connor comes to me before and said, "Hey, we got a new sponsor." I'm like, "Boom, who is it?" He's like, "You're gonna hear it." I'm like, "Who did Connor set up?" So I just mentioned, this is crazy because I was just at his house Saturday when I was talking about my dad, TK. He's a owner of that gym, so this is really close to home. Have many athletes that's been through that gym. Devin Bush has trained there before. Zay Flowers, I believe, has trained there before. So it's big names. It's just not it's not one of those little gyms. You know, you go there, you get better, you set a goal, and that's what he does. He's somebody I've been around my whole life. TK, my dad, and he definitely paid for the personality that comes with him too. He's a great guy. Y'all check it out. Y'all go show some love. Wow, that caught me off guard. I did not expect it to be my dad's gym. So.
Yeah, that was the plan, sir. That was the plan.
Hilarious.
So
I like how y'all kept that from
yeah, man. But no, seriously.
Love it.
Aside from the personal connection that both Curtis and I have with TK, a phenomenal institution, great facility over there. Please, like I said, go check them out. It's at 1536 East Commercial Boulevard in Oakland Park, Florida. Let them know you heard about them from the Varsity crew and receive a complimentary workout and evaluation. But with that being said, Curtis, we'll jump into the episode, man. Knock out these top schools. Maybe we'll try to be a little less rigid with the lists. Get a little bit more personality into it. We always, again, guys, we always like constructive criticism. We like the feedback from you guys. So if anything, please let us know. Curtis, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, exactly like he said. We appreciate the constructive criticism. We do it for you guys. So anything you guys feel, we're gonna just try and get better at. So let's start off with the list. Top schools. We're gonna go a 4-star wide receiver, DeQuavius Sori. He's from Chipley High School in Campbellton, Florida. He's down to 4 schools: Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Miami, and he's actually set a commitment date for August 26th. This is one of those I kind of want me and Connor. I'm gonna put him on the spot. We've actually talked about this before the episode, where we personally thought he would be going. I want to put one of those Connor and Sticks crystal balls in. Where do you got him ending up in your opinion?
I think he ends up at Auburn. That Final Four is the same Final Four that he released back. I think it was like early June when he was initially expected to commit on July 4th. That commitment got pushed back due to, I think the rumor going around was that a graphic wasn't ready or made yet. Then it was possibly going to be at the end of July. Now it's at the end of August. I think back on July 4th, it was expected to be Florida. That's since changed. They've added several quality prospects. Their wide receiver class is really impressive right now. And I know there was thoughts of taking him as an athlete, but I think there's been kind of like a mutual understanding between those two guys, the gentleman in the program, that he'll be heading elsewhere. So I think it ends up being Auburn when he makes his commitment at the end of this month. End of this month. It's 3 days away. We're already almost all the way through August, which is crazy.
I was going to say August flies by. I feel like we were just at the beginning of August yesterday, and here we are at the end of it. Me and you usually agree on our picks, and this is another time where that doesn't change. I think he ends up at Auburn. Personally, when you look at the rest of the list, those guys have filled up their classes pretty quickly. And I think Auburn's the one of those schools out of the 4 remaining that are willing to still have him come into the class. So that's where me and Connor think. You guys tune in and on after his commitment and fact check us, see if we stay 100%. That's something that we've been really happy to do and strive for, to just keep that 100% right now. And then we're going to go over to 4-star Warren Robinson. He's from Red Oak, Texas. He's down to 5 schools, those 5 schools being TCU, Florida, USC, Oklahoma State, and SMU. Then we're going to go over to the 4-star offensive tackle, Logan Reichart. He's from Raytown High School, Kansas City, Missouri. He's narrowed his list down to Missouri and Oregon, and he set a commitment date for September 8th. So we'll tune in there September 8th, see where that offensive tackle lands. Then we're going to go over to the 2024 class. We've been talking about 2023. We're going to break over to the 2024 class. He's the number 3 linebacker of that cycle, Demarcus Reddick. He's out in Alabama, and he's narrowed his list down to 5 schools, those being Georgia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Kentucky, and FSU. Being from Alabama and not having Alabama in his top 5 is kind of surprising, but he's a 2024 kid. A lot of times Alabama can come in there late, even though he set his schools, even if he ended up committing, which I personally think he might end up locking down soon, a commitment. I do think that Alabama could still have a hat in the race on the table and end up landing him if they felt like. And that's really how it is with 2024 kids in the state of Alabama. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with your Alabama, I guess, assumption that they could kind of get in late and make that a different recruitment. I mean, Alabama is one of those teams that doesn't really have to get in early on kids to have a chance to land them. I mean, you see it every year with Alabama where they'll offer a kid late in the cycle and either flip them or get really close to doing so. Obviously, it was close to happening last year with Florida's offensive lineman Jalen Farmer when they offered him late and almost was able to flip him from the Gators. They did it with tight end Danny Lewis from Louisiana. He was a Cincinnati commit for a long time, started receiving interest late in the cycle from schools like Florida, LSU, and Alabama. Obviously, they closed late there. They just have that knack for being able to do that, especially with it being so far out, with it being a 2024 kid.
Right.
They've got a year and a half to really make up ground if they truly want to, for a kid that's in state. So
Exactly. That's the main factor too. He's in state, and all the time that they have left. Imagine they win a natty this year. I mean, they're gonna be running hot, recruiting trail, hitting hard. I think that's something that can end up happening. And I like your idea. If kids set a commitment date, we end up going and dropping some our crystal balls on them. Pause. But yeah, we could drop some
but yeah, man.
sticks and
So
counter crystal balls.
just kind of an idea with us, man. We get the ability to talk about these kids, and anybody I think that set a commitment date, we'll get to test out our percentages now. Maybe Taylor can help us out with keeping track of that behind the scenes and let us know if we're right or wrong.
I like it.
But Logan Reichert, like you said, has a commitment date for September 8th. You mentioned he's down to Missouri and Oregon. I'm going to go ahead and put my prediction in. We got to find out a better name for this. We got to do like some sort of varsity name for it.
Right.
But we'll workshop that behind the scenes after we get done with this episode. But I think he stays close to home. I think he goes to Missouri. The opportunity to play in the SEC as an offensive tackle near your hometown of Kansas City is, I think, just too good of an opportunity to pass up. Now, that's not to say that Dan Lanning and Oregon haven't done a great job recruiting. They've done a really good job since they've gotten to Oregon. But Eli Drinkwitz seems to pull a couple of those kids every once in a while. They kept one of the biggest prospects last year home in Luther Burden, the wide receiver that was a 5-star. So I think Logan Reichert will be another one of those that stays close to home.
Another one of those picks where we're on the same page. Exactly what you said, really. The opportunity to play in the SEC and stay home, that's really hard to pass up. And like you said, Dan Lanning over there in Oregon, he has offensive tackles to his name to try and lure Logan. But again, just staying in the SEC, to me, the best conference, and mostly how it gets pitched to these recruits as the best conference, and staying home and representing the hometown. That's something a lot of kids like to do, is put on for their city. I think that's something that he would end up doing. And I believe Missouri ended up getting the last official visit from them too. So that'll be something that sits in his mind is the most recent, and he sets a commitment date after. So that's my prediction too. So if Taylor could go in and lock those in for us, and maybe start a chart to see where we end up.
All right. And without any further ado, man, we've got our guest waiting in the waiting room for us. We've got offensive tackle from New Orleans, Louisiana, Caden Jones. Caden, how you doing tonight, man? Thank you for joining us.
Good. I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Doing really well, man. I've had the opportunity to speak to you a couple times, but really excited to have you on the podcast to share a little bit more about how New Orleans high school football is, and then, of course, your recruiting process as well.
Where I start? Let me start with the football. It's great down here. It's hot like everywhere else, but it's good. The atmosphere, and just like on Friday nights, on game nights, the stadium is just full and it's packed. Everybody loves to play in front of a stacked house. And as far as my recruiting process is going, it's going good. It's slowed down since the summertime, but as of right now, I'm down to my top 5, and I plan to make a decision somewhere in December.
That's great, man. Before we get kind of more in depth into your recruiting process, we always like to have the guys that we bring on give us a little bit more about yourself outside of football, because life is bigger than football. Obviously, football is a big part of what you do, but we want to know more about Caden Jones as a person as well.
Yeah, I'm chill. I don't really go anywhere on the weekend. I'm not a big party guy. I'm like a homebody. I stay home, watch Netflix, play the game. Other than that, I have a small circle. So if it's not anything with those people, it's not like you're gonna see me out anywhere every Friday night, stuff like that.
I know when you pop out, you really stand out.
Yeah. It's so tall. It's like I'm like the tallest one there. Then, as for life after football, I plan to major in finance, and I plan to be like a business manager, CEO, on my own business. It's always been a dream of mine.
Yeah, I think personally you're one of the tallest guests that we've had on this show so far. So congrats on breaking that record right there. And then the next thing I was going to say, I mean, you kind of led into it, but what are some major things in your decision going to the next level? What's some things that play a major role?
So first, I look for the family feeling. Where I feel at home at, where I'm happy at. Because if you go somewhere where you're not happy, it's most likely that you're not going to be your best player. And so that's the major part. And then anywhere I can get a good education. A good education and where I'm happy at is the two top runners right now on what I'm looking at.
So, you being a prospect from Louisiana, I was really surprised when I saw your top 5. No Louisiana schools in there. You had a couple schools from Texas, or 3 schools from Texas, and then 2 from Florida. Obviously, powerhouse programs like Texas A&M, Florida State, but then Houston was in there too. What is Houston doing that has got them in your top 5 for such a highly regarded prospect like yourself?
They're staying true to themselves. Like when you show me how you really are outside of football, on the field as well, and then as long as you show me you care, and then they have a great offensive line coach with Coach Jones and Coach Delaney. And I've gelled with them a lot every time I visited up there. I just get a great feeling and energy from them, and so that's why they've made it to my top 5.
Yeah, that's one question I like to ask most of our guests that come on here. So aside from the schools, which coaches are doing a good job of recruiting you?
Right now, it's Coach Atkins from Florida State, Coach Jones, and Coach Delaney from Houston. We got Coach T.J. Russian and Coach Adazio from Texas A&M. I think that's the three top runners right now. I think that's going the hardest.
Coach Atkins has been doing real good so far this cycle when it comes to offensive line. He's been real good on the trail.
Oh, and Coach Salle and Coach Stapleton from Florida, and Coach Luke. That's them too. They've been doing a great job, you know. And then the thing with Florida is they came from ULL, so half of their staff is also from Louisiana. And then every time I go up there, it's like I really feel at home. You know, we can relate to almost anything, and it's like a normal conversation with a regular day person.
Right. That's one thing I was thinking about asking too, because of the coaching staff's prior experience coaching out in Louisiana. Is it somebody that you've already had a connection with, or did they just form this connection going over there?
I had a connection with Coach Jaluk and Coach Napier when they were at UL because that's who offered me from UL. I think 2 summers ago, might have been 2 summers ago. But like we've been talking, and ever since they moved, it's like our relationship got stronger. You know.
So Coach Atkins is somebody that Curtis and I have spoken about a lot on this podcast. Really, he's really separated himself as one of the best recruiters in college football, especially obviously recruiting offensive linemen at Florida State. What does he do that makes him such a good recruiter?
He's real. Like he came when I went on my unofficial visit. He showed me like what they do, and he didn't BS me. He didn't shoot me no BS on how they got all this stuff and they all that stuff. Like he said, if I come there, it's work. Like we could play now, play outside of football. When we stuck in between them 2 white lines, it's work, and it's all work. And that's something I really related to because that's what I need. That's what I think I need to get to Sunday nights. You know.
So obviously you've got quite the offer sheet. You're one of the most highly regarded prospects in the state of Louisiana, and one of the most highly regarded offensive tackle prospects in the country. What are you doing now as you're getting ready to start your senior season of high school to kind of prepare you for the next level?
I've been training. You know, I've been training, and I also went to some camps this summer. So I just kind of take to my training and then what I learned from the camp and what I learned from the college coaches, and I just apply that to my everyday work and practice, outside of practice, things like that.
So you said you were trying to make a decision more towards December. Did you have a specific date you were trying to shut it down, or did you just know you'd have your decision kind of made by then?
Nah, not yet, because my plan is to take all my official visits first and then just choose between them. But no, as of right now, I do not have a set date in December.
Do you have any official visits set up?
I don't have like set dates yet, but I do plan on taking one in December to Florida and to Texas A&M.
So with you taking official visits or planning to take official visits to Florida and Texas A&M in December, obviously that's going to be after the season. Are you probably going to try and go for an unofficial during the season to see like the game day atmosphere? Is that really important to you through your process?
Yes, sir. That was the plan. I was going to go up to a game on unofficial and then take the official later on after the season. You know? So yeah, that was the plan.
So obviously, Texas A&M's pretty well thought of. What we've asked a couple prospects that have been on this podcast. They obviously last year had the #1 recruiting class in the history of high school football recruiting. What have they done, not just for you, but just kind of what you've seen outside looking in as well, to make it so that they recruit at an elite level like that?
I think they know what it takes to win and what it takes to make the I know, well, I feel that he has what it takes to help me get to where I want to be in the future, and not just for college football, but for life after college. You know, and I think that's what the recruits see from Texas A&M, and that's why they have such a high recruiting class.
So with that being said, you're getting ready to get into your senior season. What are your personal goals? What are your team goals as you go look to finish up your high school career?
State. That's the biggest. State, and just to have a great time. You know, it's the last ride, and I don't want to waste it all just downplaying like every mistake. Like, if you make a mistake, move on, because at the end of the day, you don't get this back. You know, and we've been a state before. It's just we came up short, and that's like my ultimate goal. I want to win a high school state championship.
So does coming up short, because like you said, you've been there before, does coming up short fuel you this year around, make you want it more?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%. 100%.
Yes, sir. Get that dog in, you go out there and get some revenge.
You know.
So do you participate in any other sports other than football at your high school?
Yes, sir. I play basketball.
I had to ask, but at 6, what are you, 6'7", 6'8"?
6'8".
6'8", yeah.
I know the basketball coach wanted you.
Curtis and I were both at Friday Night Lights Florida camp back at the end of July, and when we saw you walk through the door, man, it's like, wow. Like I knew you were tall, but I didn't realize how tall you were until I saw you in person, man. But what does playing high school basketball do to help you out on the football field?
It helps with my feet a lot. My feet and my mobility. That's what it is. My feet and that's what it helps with the most. That I keep playing. I do love playing, because that's what I thought I was gonna be. I thought I was gonna be a basketball player at first, and then the tables turned, and now I'm a football player. But I've always loved the game of basketball, and then I just can't stop playing it. I can't.
So what really made those tables turn, where it went from basketball and saying, actually, I'm gonna focus on football?
So I used to play D-line my freshman year, and the summer going into my sophomore year, I got moved to offensive line. And I never really, because when I came, they would always tell me, you're going to be an offensive line, you might well switch. And I was like, no, I like playing defense because that's where all the action at. They make all the noise. And I was like, I'm never going to play offensive line. Then I got switched and I was head coach. And then that year, we made a 10-0 run to state, and we came up short by 7. And then the following year is when I kind of got all my attention going into my summer. I went to the LSU camp, and then that summer is really when I started getting my first offers. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I have offers in football. I have a chance to be something in football. And I've always been told that. And then I'm like, I might have to give up my hoop dreams. It kind of hit me hard, but I had to do his best.
Yeah, it's always hard, you know what I'm saying? You're choosing between one or the other, and you love them both. But, personally, I think you made a right decision. Me and Connor on this show, we usually talk about kids that we think's underrated. And I think, like, ranking-wise, you're severely underrated. So I'm looking forward to what you end up doing next level, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I'm going to put on the show.
So we always like to ask everybody this question when we have them on. Friday nights, you're getting ready to go out, play your game. You got your headphones on. What are you listening to get you ready for the game?
Young Boy and G Herbo. Yep. Young Boy and G Herbo. That's the two right there.
Man, Curtis has been getting reamed on this one, man. He's a big Dirk fan, so.
Dirkio. Come on, Zach.
So we've had a couple people come on and say YB.
Hey, people came on and said Dirk too. Came on and said Dirk too.
All right. Yes, they have, but we've had more people come on and say YB. So Curtis has been hurting the last couple of times, but our guy Taylor that works behind the scenes a big YB fan, so he's always giving Curtis a hard time with that.
Shout out to him.
Yes, sir. Now they got their little thing going right now, so it's one or the other. Some people listen to both. I'm just Dirkie all day.
I'm already know. I'm okay.
You in Louisiana? It's not fair to ask you. That's where YB from. That's not even fair. That's like asking somebody from Chicago.
I gotta rep the city.
Of course.
Hey, that's respect, man.
What about Fredo Bang?
Say that one more time.
What about Fredo Bang?
Fredo Bang. I don't know.
They got their beef too.
I don't know. I listen to some songs, but I don't know about Fredo Bang. I don't know. I ain't know.
You deep tied into YB, I could tell.
Nah, it's all fun though.
It's all love, man. It's a lot of fun. We like to chop it up and joke around a little bit over here. So when you said YB, I had to give Curtis a hard time, man. So
yeah, we say this every week. We like to be a different type of podcast. Like we want you to come in here feeling all tense, you know. So you could come here, chop it up, talk about whatever you could talk about outside of football, in football, music, whatever.
Right.
So, man, Curtis, you got any other questions for Caden?
I always got the tough questions. I'm about asking the tough questions, man. I know you got a leader.
I don't know. Right now, I'm gonna have to say Florida in the lead. Right now, that's right now though. Right now.
Okay, right.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll take the info.
No,
December's a long time away. You're right.
Yep.
Nah, for sure. I love to ask some questions. Of course, that don't mean that you locked in there, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
December a long way away. Everybody got to do their job.
So since you say that, what specifically about Florida makes them your leader at this time?
Like I said, it's just the vibe and energy I get from them. You know, and then they different with the two offensive line coaches because you don't see that everywhere. And I'm like, that's crazy because they put in time. And so say you got 10 offensive linemen, you can't have one coach for all 10. You can go 5 and 5 on the left side and right side, or center and guards and tackles and tight ends. And that's really important to me because I feel like everybody needs equal amount of attention to get their best work out at practice.
And I know you said academics earlier was something that was important to you. Is the academic standard at Florida something that stands out to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you said you want to major in finance. You want to own your own company at some point. Any idea what kind of company you want to get into or what kind of business ventures you want to get into, man?
Like right now, I don't know, but I always wanted to own be a big enough brand to have like 7 on 17, you know, sponsor AAU teams, stuff like that. I just like that type of stuff.
So we're gonna have Caden Jones version of the Louisiana Bootleggers.
Yep.
I see it. Hey, that's awesome, man. It's always great when you can do something like that and give back to the community that you came from. We've had a lot of people say that come on here, man. It's very important. And Curtis and I are the same way, man. We always like to give back and shout out to our community. So that's definitely big with us, and I love seeing it in y'all's generation too, man. It's real big.
Right. That's what I think a lot of people miss these days is giving back to what made you, you know.
Yeah, it's really big. Like Connor said, me and him would just really put on for our city. We love to rep. Even our state really, but we love to shout out the people that support us and then give back. So it's good, especially you're so young to have that mind state already, to be able to want to go in there and already give back when you still coming up yourself. So that's real mature of you.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, you know.
Most definitely, man. Well, Curtis, you got the tough question out of the way. So other than that, man, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to close it out how we always do. We like to close out every episode with a song, Caden. Curtis probably going to get mad because you're going to try to choose a YB song. But what song that you're listening to right now or your favorite song right now should we close out the episode with?
He just dropped the album, Freedom Files. I think that's the hardest song on the album, Freedom Files. Freedom Files, yo.
Curtis, any comments, Curtis?
Nah, you could. Hey, listen, whatever you want to end it out on, we can end it out on, man. I know a lot of great albums have dropped recently, you know what I'm saying? But if that's what you want to choose, you know what I'm saying? You can choose that.
Caden, man, we really appreciate you joining us tonight, chopping it up a little bit, giving us a little bit of insight and into your, not just your recruiting, but your personal life as well, man. Always a pleasure and really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you for having me, being patient with me, you know.
Of course.
That's all I'm glad you had me.
Yeah, and before you go, this is one of the interviews I was really excited about because most of the kids that come on here, I've had some type of communication with before. And we've never had prior communication to this interview. So I was like really locked in to try and see what you were saying. You know what I mean? Because every bit of information you gave me was brand new. So I was really excited about it. So thank you really for jumping onto the show. That's much love.
Much love. I appreciate it a lot that you chose me out of everybody else that you chose.
Needed to, man. Needed to. You got like a foot of height on me, son.
Yeah, man. Caden, like I said, man, thank you very much. Always a pleasure talking with you, man. And looking forward to see what you do senior year. And we'll definitely be tuned in.
Yep, man. Y'all be easy, though. Y'all be easy.
For
yes,
sure.
sir. You too, man. Man, great interview, Curtis.
Hey, that was a great interview. Hey, look, I asked the tough questions for a reason now. You know, sometimes they hit. Sometimes they hit. Hey. Man. They got to be. I don't think he's ever said that.
No, I don't think he's publicly released a leader. So you know what I mean? It might be another varsity exclusive. I mean, that's light work here. So, I mean.
You know what I'm saying? We get top fives that's not released, official visits that's not released, top schools that's not released. It's a commitment.
It's just another episode, man.
They tune in. They tune in too late sometimes. If y'all listen right away, y'all get it right away. That's what I'm saying. Be ahead of the curve. Tune into Varsity.
But Caden, I've talked to Caden a couple times. Obviously, you and I both saw him at Friday Night Lights, and were impressed with his physical stature when he walked through the door. Just unreal how tall and lanky that kid is, standing at 6'8" and every bit of 300 pounds, but doesn't look like it because of
lean. It's a lean
because he carries it well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, he's an unbelievable kid. Super individual, really appreciative of anything. He's always telling me, "Hey, thank you for hitting me up."
Yep.
Just a really respectful kid, and I really appreciate that.
I mean, you could tell by the way he exited the interview. He said, choosing me out of all the people that we could have, and that's something, like I said, he has a mature mind state, so that's really big. And another thing, like the way we were in awe of his height. So I'm out with the fam, and they see people 6'2", 6'3", and they're like, yo, those are really tall people. And it is, but because we're always around athletes, it's something I become accustomed to. So I see someone 6'2", 6'3", I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're tall, but it's not like, oh my God, where everybody else is like looking like, oh my God. But when he walked in, and this is coming from me and you who's consistently around tall athletes, he is like a tall person, like duck your head before you walk into the PF, you know, the practice facility, IPF. It's crazy. It's literally something that you think you see in stories. You get to see it in real life. 6'8" is tall.
Yeah, and he's somebody that I think is just barely scratching the surface of his potential too. I think he's going to be an unreal offensive tackle when he gets to the next level and gets college coaching. Somebody that I think can be a superstar once he gets to the college level, regardless of where he decides to go.
Right. That's something I agree with as well. And my favorite thing about him is he's continuously playing basketball. For me as an offensive lineman, quick feet is key. And basketball is consistently working on footwork. So I think that's something that ends up playing a huge part. And I think he's really at the base of where he's going to end up. A lot of kids really reach their peak in high school. There's a lot of kids, and then they plateau right there. He's somebody I think he's literally at the floor going towards the ceiling. I think he's someone who ends up having an NFL type run.
So. I definitely agree with you, man. But without any further ado, let's move on to the rest of our episode. And let's move on by shouting out one of our sponsors, Sativa Doll. Sativa Doll is a veteran-owned company that offers 3 different products: CBD soft gels for you and your pets. Curtis and I have both continuously shouted out the pet products. And then they've also got the roll-on for pain relief. The soft gels come from a trusted source that manages the product from seed to sell. No funny business going on there, and are often recommended by medical professionals as part of your regular wellness routine. The roll-on is formulated by pharmacists for quick, effective relief that also offers extra cooling menthol relief. Check out sativadol.com for these products. Use promo code VARSITY25 for 25% off your order and help support the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, consistently I bring up the pets side of that, but actually I had one of the people who listen to our podcast tune in and actually DM me. They made a purchase and was really happy that we had them as a sponsor to be able to get that discount and the effects that it ended up having. So to see that type of response and review, it feels like it's not in vain. And I mean, that's like I said with the fans, I love their feedback. So to see something positive come from this, where he's saying he felt aches and pains and ended up helping him, I mean, that is something huge. And it makes me want me to push it even more, honestly.
Absolutely, man. It's we do this stuff, and the people that sponsor us make it so that we can continue to do this, have a good time doing it, and when somebody gives us a review like that, it makes it all more worth it. But we'll move on, man. We've got commitments on the line. South Carolina. The Gamecocks added a pair of 4-star defensive linemen in Xavion Hardy from Macon, Georgia, and Xavier McLeod from Camden, South Carolina, to bring their recruiting class to number 16 in the country. 19 total commitments in that class. They've moved up a little bit with those 4-star commitments. And the next commitment, one of my favorite prospects in the country that I've had the opportunity to see in person a couple times now, 4-star wide receiver Aiden Williams from Ridgeland, Mississippi. First time I ever saw him was last year at Friday Night Lights when he visited. You could tell who it was because he had the red mohawk, completely stood out from everybody else. But from that night, I came away impressed and followed the progression of his recruiting process from that night. I think he's a bit underrated on some sites. I believe he's a top 100 talent, but he made his commitment to Ole Miss. I think that's a phenomenal fit for him. Him going into Lane Kiffin's offense he's going to rack up numbers there and be able to get to the next level. But he chose the Rebels over Georgia, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Jackson State. Alabama landed a commitment this weekend from 4-star defensive lineman Edric Hill from North Kansas City, Missouri, over the likes of LSU, USC, in-state Missouri, Oregon, and Oklahoma. 4-star defensive lineman Jalen Thompson from Cass Tech High School in Detroit, Michigan, committed to the in-state Spartans, Michigan State, over Ohio State, Cincinnati, Penn State, and Pittsburgh. So another nice pickup for Mel Tucker out there and Michigan State. They've done a great job recruiting since Mel got there. Mel was always known as a recruiter when he was at Georgia as the defensive coordinator, then went over to Colorado and quickly moved over to Michigan State. A fantastic coaching hire, I think, by Michigan State. Fantastic recruiter, and he's done really well to turn that roster over in such a short time up there for the Spartans. Then we move over to 3-star edge Jaden Moore from Central Valley Christian in Visalia, California, I think. Commits to Oregon over California, Washington, and Arizona. And then 3-star defensive lineman Joshua Horton from Langston Hughes in Fairburn, Georgia, commits to North Carolina over Auburn and UCF.
And one thing that I wanted to talk about, Aidan Williams, I was there at FNL too, and everybody there was like, who's this kid with the red hair? Because not everybody really knew who he was. He wasn't big on the scene like that. And then come to watch him continue to progress and grow. And Lane Kiffin doing a great job keeping him at home. And in his offense, Lane Kiffin's offense, I think Aiden Williams is a perfect fit. So I'm actually really happy with his decision as a personal fan of his. And I think it ends up paving out really well. And then also with Mel Tucker at Michigan State, that was a good comment there. I think home run hire. And believe it or not, so when he went over from Georgia over to Michigan State, he was second. Michigan State was second. Oh, no. Colorado was second. You know what I'm about to say right now, right?
I do know what you're about to say, sir.
At the time, Colorado was second to end up landing Kaiir services from after Florida. If he ended up staying at Georgia,
it's a very good chance that Georgia would have
landed his services. So that's some inside info, but luckily for Gator fans, that's not how it ended up panning out.
Yeah, man. Aiden was one of the top performers in the article that Zach Brandon and I did at SI for Future 50. We highlighted, I think it was about 8 or 10 prospects that performed really well. Aiden was one of those. I think he had 2 or 3 touchdowns in the 7-on-7 portion. Really just really knows how to run his routes well. And he's a bigger bodied kid. He's about 6'2", 195 pounds. He might even be 6'3" now, but really a bigger bodied kid that does a really good job, smooth through his routes. And like you said, just an ideal fit for a Lane Kiffin system. I think he's going to be 1,000-yard receiver there for the Rebels and eventually get to the next level. Lane does a phenomenal job of utilizing the talent that he has on the outside. And I think Aiden is going to do great there. And shout out to my guy, KB, Kelvin Bolden, who's over there at Mississippi for landing his guy. KB is actually the reason that Aiden went to Friday Night Lights that year because of the Mississippi connection. So really happy for my guy, KB, because I know he was a big part of that young man's recruitment. And I think Aiden is going to be a star for the Rebels in the SEC.
And then he's one of those kids that he's 6'2", 6'3", and he actually plays his size. You see a lot of those kids not play their size, and he's somebody who does. So, like I said, I think that's a really good get. And they kept him in state over some big schools: Georgia, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Jackson State's been surging. Those are some SEC programs that you really had to beat out and keep them in state. And Ole Miss has been doing a good job of that. So, congrats to them over there. And I think a kid with a huge upside at their game.
Absolutely. Now we'll move on. We've got a little bit of information from the game that Varsity was out at on Saturday, Jones and Miami Northwestern. But before we get into that game, obviously want to shout out Dying to Self. Dying to Self is a faith-based clothing brand that is all about selfless living, designed with various aesthetic and neutral styles of shirts and hoodies with top quality and comfort in mind. Use promo code VARSITY10 at dyingtoself.co. That's not .com. Dyingtoself.co for 10% off your order. Almost tripped me up a little bit on that one, man. I went to look for their website and typed in dyingtoself.com and went to something completely different. So I saw the text message you sent me, Curtis, and it was .co. So I want to make sure we get that out there. Dyingtoself.co for 10% off your order to purchase your Dying to Self faith-based clothing.
Yep, Dying to Self as it sounds, and then .co, or you could click the link that we usually put under our Twitter. The actual .com, the story behind that is a guy is trying to sell that domain name, and sell it such a prized domain name for $3,000. So
I think they'll be okay with the .co.
You can take the M off and save yourself a $3,000. I do that too. Let's get into that game that my boy ended up representing the crew with.
The kickoff classic, actually coined as the Legacy Classic in Orlando, Florida at Camping World Stadium. It was quite an eventful evening, man. Besides just my car situation, there was a 45-minute weather delay for the start of the game. And then about midway through the third quarter, the lights in the stadium completely shut off. Entire stadium went dark. But I will say, a credit to all the fans that were in the stadium. They got out their flashlights. They started turning up when the lights went off. I posted a video on my Twitter account where you can see everybody going crazy once the lights went off. But yeah, Miami Northwestern ended up beating the host, Jones High School. And a couple of prospects that we wanted to highlight from that game is a 3-star running back, Jamari Ford from Miami Northwestern. Unbelievable performance for that young man. Impressed everybody in attendance, had 60 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 8 carries. And then also had a 60-yard punt return for a touchdown. Unfortunately, Ford's night was cut short due to being ejected from the game for 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, both of which were given to him after celebrating touchdowns. The first one
Let them boys celebrate, man. I'm not going for none of that. Let them boys celebrate, man. This is a huge game, first game of the season. Come on, man.
The first one was really impressive. After his 60-yard touchdown return on the punt, going into the end zone, he did a front flip. Obviously, the flags came out. But
For a flip.
Ford was quoted saying, "I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to come and play at Camping World again. I had to take full advantage of that moment." He goes, "I'll have those videos for life." So I firmly respect his stance on that.
I respect this stance. After you get one, though, maybe chill out on the second one.
Yeah, maybe on the second one for
but
sure.
let them boys celebrate, man. I don't like the way that the league and college and high school has been a front flip. That's nothing disrespectful. If you do something disrespectful, you go in somebody's face and taunt them. I get it, man. But a front flip, that you let them boys celebrate something like that. You let them boys gritty dance, all that. I mean, but like he said, man, this is something that's going to live on forever memory-wise. And they did a good job going out there and playing that ball. So.
Second prospect we want to highlight is wide receiver, tight end Adam Moore, also from Northwestern. He was clearly Taryn Tiger Dickens, the quarterback from Miami Northwestern's favorite target on the night. I don't know exactly how many catches he had. He was targeted at least 10 to 12 times, had at least 5 catches, and really just an impressive physical target. Every bit of 6'2", maybe 6'3", over 200 pounds. Really, and going there, obviously, the highest ranked prospect on Miami Northwestern's team is Florida wide receiver commit Andy Jean. Firmly expected him to be the primary target on the evening. He still had probably about 5 or 6 catches on the night, most of them being bubble screens. But Dickens definitely targeted Moore a lot more than anybody else. Kind of surprised me, but Moore is somebody that has 20-plus offers, including a couple SEC offers. So looking forward to see where that young man decides to play his college ball. Really impressed us in person.
And I think that Northwestern's head coach did a good job drawing up that game plan, that type of game plan, because just like me and you, Jones is probably expecting Andy Jean to go out there, get majority of the looks. So to sit there and show that you could distribute it to other wide receivers, other teams are going to have to pay attention to that and know that, hey, I can't just lock up Andy Jean, can't just drift the safety over his side. Going to have to end up going out and paying attention to other receivers as well. So Northwestern's head coach doing a good job over there.
That most definitely. Then we'll move over to a couple prospects from Jones High School. One of the ones that I was most impressed with, he was technically, as of yesterday, he was a Maryland tight end commit, Dylan Wade. He announced today that because he's now playing both sides of the ball, he will be playing defensive end at the college level. Still committed to Maryland, but Maryland took his commitment as a tight end. So we'll see if anything changes there. He wants to play defensive end now at the next level. I think, quite honestly, he was better at defensive end than he was at tight end at the game. So if I'm a school that's recruiting him, I'm not backing away. He did a really good job at defensive end throughout the night, and even played some wildcat quarterback. Had a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to get Jones kind of back into the game before they separated yet again late in the fourth. But Dylan Wade is somebody that I was impressed with while we were there, and really a fluid athlete that did a really good job playing both sides of the ball. Then the last prospect we're going to highlight is probably the highest, not probably, he was the highest ranked prospect at that game. Miami commit Malik Bryant from Jones High School. Did a really good job early in the game. They had him coming off the edge, forced a fumble, and also forced a couple pressures. But then as the game progressed, he moved over to more of an off-ball linebacker role. You could tell it's something he wasn't extremely comfortable with. He struggled a little bit to read and really diagnose plays and really fill the gaps. But that's something that, like I said, he's been primarily an edge rusher his entire high school career. His coaching staff at Jones, which I think is phenomenal by the Jones coaching staff, by the way, knows that he's going to be playing more off-ball linebacker at the college level. So they're allowing him to do that as a senior to become more accustomed to it so that once he gets to Miami, he'll be more of a step ahead than if he had exclusively played edge. So I think he's a prospect that's going to get better over the course of his senior year in that off-ball linebacker role. But you could definitely tell he was a little uncomfortable in his first really extended game action in that position.
Yeah, definitely. I thought I was the only one who kind of really noticed that. So, we can't get anything past your eyes, Connor. So, yeah, I mean, I've had this. Anybody I really talked to about Malik Bryant, I've said with TK, I believe I've talked about it with you too. That I mean, edge wise, I think for sure his rating is there. At linebacker, I don't know where they get the rating really because we haven't seen much of it at the high school level. So we'll see how he ends up turning out into that. But like you said, I mean, go through the process. He's a specimen of an athlete. So I don't think it's going to be the hardest time adjusting. It's more really learning the book, where to fill. And I think he ends up doing that real well. If he ends up going to Miami and signing there, then he ends up doing that there.
With that being said, man, that's about it for the evening. Another outstanding episode. We didn't have as much commitments and top schools to talk about, so we were able to chop it up, go a little bit more in depth. Like we said, guys, please, we've welcomed the feedback, we welcome the constructive criticism. We want to make this show as good as it can be for you guys. So please, if you have anything, let us know. But with that being said, please go like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment on
5
that.
stars.
On all podcast platforms. Go rate us 5 stars. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's others that I'm sure I'm forgetting right now, but off the top of my head, I can't
The
think
ones with
of
the
it.
weird names that we don't really know that y'all love. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, please go, because if you guys give us better reviews, it gives us the ability to continue to do this for you guys, and we love doing it. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to it. We've received a lot of love lately, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, definitely like, subscribe, and comment on all of our YouTube videos that Taylor's been working so hard to put up on our YouTube account, and then also on all podcast platforms. Please go rate us 5 stars and comment.
Yeah, 5 stars and comment, especially on the podcast. Go out, give us 5 stars. And like Connor said, we always love constructive criticism. I'll take a DM though. You know what I'm saying? You guys could DM it to me and we get constructive there. Otherwise, go rate us those 5 stars. Appreciate y'all. This is Varsity.
Signing off.